Oh, man. Hey, folks, you're not going to believe it. Dear Lord, I done it, coughed up a lung on the man. I'm here with Eddie Brochin. How are you, sir?
Oh, doing really well. Really well.
Hey,
Thanks. Appreciate you having me on the show.
It's an honor. It's a pleasure to have you here. I've watched you for so many years, and it's a great honor to get to talk to you.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Likewise.
Speaking of watching you, what's the show I watched you on? Do you know?
Well, I've got over 60 of them. I'm not sure which one exactly, but I've got quite a few projects out there right now. We had started, I guess, with Outdoors with Eddie Brochin in 2001, and produced, I think, 26 episodes by 2004, and then 2004 to 2008, we had produced another 26. And then since then, I've produced 2 one-hour specials and 3 full-length feature documentaries. So just, pick one, and I'll know what to talk about.
Yes, I've watched you on. Is it Ultimate Outdoors? Is that what it was called?
Yeah, that would have been the second season, which would have ran from 2004 all the way until 2008. Yeah, those are some good shows. Those are some good hunting and fishing shows. I enjoyed making them.
Yep, that's what I'm about, man. I'm about that hunting and fishing. And,
okay.
That's where I got familiar with you, was on the Ultimate Outdoors. Can I call you Eddie?
Yeah, that's fine. Everybody calls me Eddie. Yeah.
Okay. You got what's the nickname? Archer Eddie?
Archer Ed was the nickname for the first series. Then after that, it just went mostly to Captain Brochin because I started. I got my captain's license, and I think it was around that 2003 time frame. So I started doing a lot of offshore fishing and navigable water systems like Ohio River and stuff like that for big catfish. And so I kind of changed to Captain Brochin, I think, around that time frame. But so
I've watched. What was the item? My brain just went wacky on me. Is the Bull movie? You did the documentary on the bulls. What was the name of that exactly?
Yeah, that was The Spirit of the Bull. Now, that was a kind of a recent release. That was in 2016 we released that one, but that was an interesting film. Got called in to do a wildlife survey, for big game, for a deer and turkey and hogs and, different types of species of wild range species there on my friend's ranch in Mexico in the mountains of the Sierra Madres. And so I decided, well, let's take a camera crew. We'll take some images, some aerial images. We'll do different things and try to come up with some kind of a game plan for him that he can, possibly become a tourist destination for hunting. So when I got down there, they unleashed this story on me that I couldn't believe. Okay. And so I had to see with my own eyes. They started telling me about these free-ranging Spanish fighting bulls living up in the mountains there on the ranch, and told all the story with it. So it was an interesting opportunity that came up out of nowhere. And I fell asleep that night and woke up the next morning, handed everybody a script and said, "We're here to do a documentary, boys." And they couldn't believe it. So I made them hike up to the top of the mountains with me, and we started filming a documentary at that point. And 3 years later, in 2016, we released the film. It was an amazing little piece there.
It really was. I liked it. It was very good, very, very good documentary. I didn't even know. I had no idea that there's wild bulls like that they had released, and that was a very good movie, and I suggest anybody to watch that.
Yeah.
You have a new one coming out now, correct? Or is it out now?
It will be out next week, actually. It will be released next week, and it's called The Whisker Seeker. Now, this is a very interesting film also, because in 2001, I had written a script called River Monsters, okay? And I'm sure everybody's familiar with that one. And I gave that concept to Discovery International at the NATSP, which is a National Association for Television Producer Executive Convention, okay? They hold it every year. Well, they held it in Las Vegas that year in 2001. And I had a little sizzle reel playing in my booth, just giant catfish coming over my boat, because I'm a full-time fishing charter captain. That's what I do for a living, and I specialize in giant catfish. So I was just, showing off highlights, so highlight reel of all these giant fish coming in over the boat, and clients and me personally and my friends, and and it was titled River Monsters. And they kept coming by the booth. These executives from Discovery International kept coming by and asking me about it. And I said, oh, yeah, I'm going to expand on that, and I'm going to bring in the folklore. And, I said, these catfish are nothing compared to what they are overseas. And I said, they get big enough they can eat people. And so their eyes got big as golf balls, And, they didn't believe it. And they kept coming back around asking me to do a development deal with them. And I would have loved to have done it, but at the time, I had a bunch of sponsor commitments for Ultimate Outdoors, okay? Outdoors with Eddie Brochin, and then the new series coming up. So I was committed out for quite many years. So I wasn't quite ready to do that. And they kept asking me, well, if you can't do it, can we please take the name? Can we please take the name? We want to run with it. And I signed a deal with them to let them do that. And they did a fairly good job. I really enjoyed the show. But with the Whisker Seeker, getting back to the topic here, the Whisker Seeker was my opportunity to take that whole concept back into my own hands now. See, because the River Monsters is no longer going to air. See, Jeremy Wade's retiring from that. He's giving it up, hanging up his rods, okay?
Well,
so I've been working on this project for 5 years, a little over 5 years, almost 6 years. And I finally finished it. But the original concept was never supposed to be about any other species other than whiskerfish, catfish. That's it. Wasn't supposed to be about toothed critters or manta rays or sharks or nothing. I mean, that was way out there. It wasn't even supposed to be about that because there's over 1,000 species of catfish in the world. Anyway, so what are you going to do? Produce 1,000 episodes? You could literally produce an episode on every individual species. So that was the original idea, was to travel around the world. The same concept of folklore and the culture and the people and the food and then the opportunity to possibly catch that target species, whatever it would be. Okay, that would be the highlight of the show. Well, they didn't do that. They couldn't come up with enough content to do that, so they started going off on different species. So I took it back with that same focus, but with the conservation angle in mind. Okay, we got a lot of issues with especially here in the Midwest, with the overharvest and illegal harvest of the larger species of catfish, right? Be it blues and flatheads mostly, and they're taking all those breeding fish out and they're selling them to the pay lakes, and there's just big racket going on, and it's really devastating the ecosystem. So that was the first episode is it's a full-length feature documentary that'll have a 52-minute 1-hour special version cut from it, made for television. But the first episode is called The Whisker Seeker, and it's a conservation-minded film to kind of bring to the surface all the issues regarding that commercial fishing and illegal harvest. So, yeah, it's an interesting film. I hope everybody gets a chance to watch it. The website's already up, and it's thewhiskerseeker.com. The trailer's already up, and here very soon we'll be announcing the different platforms that it can be viewed on.
I have been watching, man. I've been seeing it all over social media. And, the DNR here in Indiana, they're passing some laws now, aren't they, on catfish limits, like size limits, to help in the conservation of those?
I am extremely impressed with the way Indiana is stepping up. Okay, because they were the first people to ever step up and say, you know what, catfish is more than catfish to us, to the people who are passionate about this is our sport fish, and they're starting to get it.
Oh yeah,
they get it. Catfishing is a sport fish, and they're starting to change their attitude, and they're really starting to back us up. Now, I'd love to see Illinois and Kentucky fall in line with that, but those are the two biggest states right now that are working against us, is Kentucky and Illinois. Ohio's stepping up, Virginia's stepping up, everybody's stepping up except Illinois and Kentucky. And they're the ones that make money selling all the commercial licenses. So I don't know whose side they're on, but it's not favorable for the conservation efforts of the species. Now,
I think they'll join.
Go ahead, Ben.
I think they'll join in.
Oh, man, I hope so. I really do, because, I've been chartering those waters for 25 years, and I've seen a huge decrease in the amount of big fish being caught by my clients over especially the last 10 years. It's just like somebody hit a light switch. And you go down there any time and catch 30, 40 pounders. In the last 10 years, harder and harder and harder. And now it's, you're 1 in every 3 trips if you're lucky to get a 30 pounder.
That's true, man. I keep an eye on the catfish tournaments and things, and you're right, man. There isn't a big 30 and 40 pounders. It's usually like 25 or so pounds is what wins it.
Yeah, and every once in a while somebody will hook a big one, a 60 or a 70 or something like that. But it's rare, and it's getting to the point where it's just like, where'd they all go? Well, we know where they've gone. We know where they're ending up. And so with this film, it brings it to the surface, and I didn't hold back. I shared exactly, what's going on out there, and I know it's upset a lot of people. But on the other hand, it's been highly supported. Okay, highly supported by the tournament anglers and the people that are just passionate about catfish, especially CPR people, catch, photo, release. Even bank fishermen. A lot of bank fishermen supporting it. It's not just the boaters. So, we'll get the word out. Sure.
Oh, yes, we sure will, because I'll share it every time it comes up.
Thank you.
And you kind of touched on this already, but are you still doing any of your TV shows, or have you switched over to doing film production solely, or? Yeah,
at this point, I'm pretty much 100% now. I'm just concentrating on documentaries and films, and especially with this new one, because it opens the doors up for me to have a whole new series made for television, but they're going to be more of a docu-series. So each individual film will be its own documentary, and then eventually put together 6 or 7 of them into a series and actually be able to air them. But it may take me a while. I self-fund everything. I raise all my own money and stuff like that. So it was easier back in the day when I had my TV show on. I had a lot of sponsors. So people were efforts,
Hey, man, you could get sponsors to help you this, too.
It'd be nice. I'd love to. I had a few that stepped up to the plate there and helped me out there with the last one. Rod companies, and reel companies and different things like that helped me get the equipment and stuff I needed to pull all this stuff off. But financially, that's still the tough part. But I love what I do, and it just takes me a little longer, is all. When I do it.
Oh yeah.
But we'll get it done. We always do. So
people don't realize that, man. How people can love the outdoors, how it can be a passion, and it truly is.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's not just it's a lifestyle, it's a way of life for people.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. And I like I said, I've watched a lot of your stuff, and you hunt, you fish. You did a little, I'm going to call it a survival camp type thing with a few guys, and that's what I love, man. I love all that. That's awesome.
I'm surprised you saw that, but that was called the Ultimate Outdoorsman. That's 1 hour specials that I told you I had produced in that time frame, and I took six of the most seasoned hunters down there and stuck them on the border of Mexico and made them survive on the ranch.
Yep, it was awesome.
I thought it was going to be easy because the ranch was full of game, but when you're doing it with stick and string only, it changes everything. So that was a fun film, and I appreciate you mentioning it, because all of my old films, Outdoors with Eddie Brochin, Ultimate Outdoors, the Ultimate Outdoorsman Reality Pilot, Off the Cuff, Wintertime Blues on Sandy Cooper for blue catfish, and all those films are still available to people, and a lot of people don't really realize that they can watch those. We have them now. We shifted them from television to digital platforms now. So your Amazon Prime, your Roku, distribution points are on Roku. You can just click Eddie Brochin on Roku, and then it'll pop up on various different channels and stuff like that. So it's mostly digital streaming now.
Right. And a lot of people, I'm from Indiana, and you're from Indiana, correct?
Yes, sir. I'm born in Evansville.
Yes, and a lot of people don't know that, man. This is a local Hoosier man, doing some good stuff, man. And congratulations, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Appreciate it.
And now, as far as like your favorite type of hunting, what's your favorite type of hunting? I mean, is it archery, guns, rocks?
Traditional archery all the way for whitetails. And I mean, that's the passion. Because, and I've chased a lot of different types of, free-range exotic game and of any kind, everything from mountain aoudads and Texas Dall sheep and axis deer and fallow bucks. I've chased everything in the world with traditional equipment, and I love it, especially free-range. I specialize all in free-range stuff, but there's nothing like chasing the number one game animal in North America.
Nothing like it.
That's the mighty whitetail, man. Everybody loves the whitetail.
Yep. And, now I've never hunted whitetail with traditional archery, and I'm ashamed of that. But I do have a recurve that I shoot. I just, when push comes to shove, I get a little nervous and think, oh man, I don't want to question myself on the shot, so I stick with what I know best, and that's the compound.
Yeah, well, it don't matter to me. I mean, archery's archery. It's just that for me, I've never hunted with a compound bow, so it's so foreign to me. Wouldn't know where to begin. So I'm sure I can figure it out, but for me, it's so natural just to shoot traditional equipment because I've been doing it since I was 4 years old, and
right.
It just becomes one of those things where you just if you looked at something and you pointed at it with your finger and you followed your finger, you'd eventually touch whatever you're looking at. So to me,
right.
when you put that arrow on top of that rest, that's your finger, and you never take your eye off what you're wanting to hit.
Mm-hmm.
And when you draw back and you let it go, it just after a while it just becomes so natural. And I never changed my methods of my methods for hunting the game animals. I've always stuck with traditional equipment, wooden arrows, two-blade broadheads, that kind of thing. But I wouldn't recommend it, just to start off right away with it. I actually recommend people to start off with compound and then work backwards if they want to, because it's not for everybody. And I always recommend that they do pick it up, even though if they get to the point where they can hit an apple at 30 yards every time. I still recommend that those first shots that you take are never more than 10 or 15 yards in that very first couple of game animals, that you get opportunity to harvest. I would wait until you get those close enough shots that you're really confident with, and then little by little you can start expanding backwards. Start going back to where you can see further and further shots, and you'll find out that after a while you're just as proficient with it as anything else.
Right.
But you got to start, somewhere.
That sounds just like me when I teach people to shoot archery. I do it. I say the same exact thing with one difference. I think everybody should start traditional and then go into compound. And the reason I say that is because I have drawn my bow. My very first buck kill I ever got with a compound. I couldn't see through my peep sight correctly, and cause it was just turning daylight, but he was under a tree, and it was really dark under the tree, so it was, the shadow made it darker, and I couldn't see through the peep sight. Well, I pulled out of the peep sight, and I shot it kind of a traditional shot with my compound, and that's because I've been practicing traditional. And so, that's why I say that, and something might happen in a field where you don't have your machine set correctly, and you can use your compound instinct, or your instinctive shooting skills.
Of course. I like that. I like that idea.
That's what I've always told them. And Mr. Brochin, do you have a dream hunt?
Right now, honestly, I'd love to go back to the mountains of Mexico. And if you watch the documentary, you'll know why. I'd love another opportunity at one of those wild Spanish mountain bulls. So to me, they are the world's most dangerous game animal.
Really?
And you can see why. If you ever watch a bullfight, these things are just born and bred to fight. That's what they do. And you put yourself in an environment where now you're in their arena, and you're going face to face trying to get a shot with a traditional bow, and you're going to, you want at least that, 30 or 40 yard shot. You're putting yourself right in the strike zone. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. With nothing
That's
more
awesome.
that in my entire life, and not to spoil it for anybody, but I had opportunities to shoot bulls during the making of that documentary. But again, when we got into the documentary, the need for conservation of the species became the number one priority. And so the documentary really shifted more towards the conservation and awareness, trying to get the Mexican government to classify them as a game species, as a game animal, not some kind of feral. So there's a lot of issues going on there too, that if they don't get protected, they're going to end up, being wiped up from extinction. Now, to extinction, and these animals are different now. They're no longer the same animal as they are in the fighting arena, because through a natural process, they're genetically breeding out all of the genes, outside genes of the purest form of Spanish fighting bull, which leads back to the auros of their ancestry. So they're getting bigger, stronger. These things jump around, Danny, on the mountaintops up there like little billy goats, hanging off on little billy goats. It's a whole different.
I saw it. Hey, when I watched Spirit of the Bull, I turned it on. I was thinking, okay, this is a documentary. And then it got into it, and I went, oh, dang, this ain't no documentary. This is a hunting show. And I'm fine with that, okay? And then it goes on about, halfway through, and I go, oh, man, this is a good documentary, dude. And it really, it's a good movie. It was an award-winning movie, correct?
Yes, sir. It won all kinds of awards here in the United States at various film festivals, and then we decided to test it overseas, and man, it took off from there. Especially in Spain, because we shot so much of the film there in Spain, and we did real well throughout Europe, and Italy, and France, and Spain, and a few other countries, and places like Rome, Italy. Also, we did real good in Rome, Italy. And Colombia, believe it or not, South America. We won some awards in South America. We won some awards in Mexico. It was really a bit of a hit, if you will.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I believe I've shared that before on my social media sites for people to watch it. I hope they've watched it. If not, I'm going to be sharing it again, because I'll be pushing this interview until it airs. And I was going to ask. Well, go back to the dream hunt. I'm sorry. My dream hunt would be
that is
red
opportunity. Yes, sir. Dream hunt is another opportunity to get out there, and this time, no cameras, no camera crews, just the opportunity for me to go and enjoy that majestic mountain. Okay, we call it Bull Mountain, and have a second opportunity. Because we actually offer those hunts now down there to people. But I want to be the first one to do it, since I'm the one to discover it. I want to have that opportunity. So that's
I don't blame you.
That's
awesome.
The dream. Yeah.
Well, my dream hunt would be red stag in New Zealand.
Oh, man. Yeah.
I would love to do that, man.
Definitely on my bucket list as well, man.
Now, if you could choose only one, now this is something I've asked before on my social media sites, man, and it's a question that I can't even answer myself definitively. If you could choose only one thing, fish or hunt, you could only do one for the rest of your life, which would it be, and why would it be that?
Well, that is a tough one, man, because, I've made my living at this. Full-time. I'm a full-time professional outdoorsman. That's the only way I make my living. I've never had anybody write myself a check or write me a check except for one company. In 2008, I wanted to solidify my captain's license. So I went to work for the Entertainment Cruise Company up in Chicago, running those speedboat tours, to solidify that 50-ton master's license. So I did that for 6 months. But honestly, I think I'd have to say fishing if I had to choose. And the reason being, just because I still make my living, in the outdoors. We do more fishing charters than we do hunting trips. And I've already pretty much run out of wall space I like to, I have a trophy room. I got a nice trophy room, but I'm pretty much run out of space. And I think the fishing charters would be a better choice for me. Just give me another 10 years here of work here before I retire. So that would be my choice. I think I'd have to go fishing.
I've been fishing about 20 years longer than I've been hunting, and I kind of went fishing, and that's mainly because my grandpa started me out on it, and it's a tradition. Here, on this show, I talk about this is a Military Brotherhood Radio, and the radio station plays to a lot of enlisted personnel overseas. It goes all around the world, and that's why I do this. And I often say we're bringing a little home to the troops until we can bring the troops home. So is there anything that you would like to say to bring a little home to them?
Oh, for sure, man. I mean, if it wasn't for them, and I speak, when I say them, I speak for some of my family members too. I personally have never served, but my grandfather served, my dad served, so they put their life on the line. And every day these people are putting their life on the line so that we can enjoy what we enjoy here. Even the simple things like the great outdoors. People take it for granted. They don't realize how many people have lost their life, to protect those freedoms for us, to be able to live freely in this country. So God bless them, man. Keep up keep fighting the good fight, and just know that there are many, many people out here, especially the sportsmen of the United States, that appreciate you. We love you. God bless you. Stay safe, and then come home soon.
Absolutely. And you're right. People do take it for granted. We think that, I can get up today and go fishing, and that's normal around the world. Well, I got news for you, partner. It's not.
It's not. It is not normal around the world. For example, when I was in Spain there in this last movie for the Whisker Seeker, it took me 2 days just to get a fishing license.
See, that's what I'm talking about.
2 days. I mean, just constant running around this office to that office to this. I don't know if I want to do is fish. I mean, it was, to me, a big eye-opener, So don't think you're just going to get out there and, go online real quick and pull the, license off and go fish. It doesn't work like that.
Right.
In most cases,
Well, you're talking about river monsters with Jeremy Wade, and I've seen him taken off of many, many rivers by the authorities. You can't fish here. You can't fish here. And that's not very typical here in the United States. I don't know if it ever happened in the United States. I'm sure it could have happened somewhere for a certain reason, but I don't know that.
Yeah, and it's even harder to get a hunting license, or even if you're a resident in a lot of countries. You actually have to, go through a long, strenuous process, sometimes 5, even 10 years before you can even get a hunting license in some of these countries. So, we all need to really, really understand, what our military has done for us, and it's given us the liberties and the freedoms to enjoy the great outdoors like no other country in the world. So we owe that to our men and women that are currently serving, and we owe it to all the veterans. So
absolutely,
yeah.
So I have questions written out now here, and the next question is any big projects. You talked about the Whisker Seeker series. Is there anything more coming up than that, or is that what your focus is on right now?
Right now, that will be the next project. I'm in the process now of. I got a couple interested parties. I'm not sure yet if we'll nail them down just yet, but we're looking for a little bit of support there to create the sequel, which would be the second in the series if it continues forward. But at least we will have a second documentary, which will be the sequel to the first. If it doesn't make it to the series, it would be called The Whisker Seeker Sharks of the Amazon. And we'd be going after the freshwater shark down there, and also the red tail. And I think Perieba is another species of catfish that we would be hitting down there. So kind of have an opportunity that came up last year, and I knew it would be too much to add to the current documentary because I was almost finished with it. So we decided not to go there. I have the opportunity to stay for a couple of weeks with Waimai tribe there in Guyana, and South America there and actually spend some time with them and live there and have some of their local knowledge, to be able to utilize it and going after these species. So to me, it just seemed like a whole nother film. So that's going to be the second film in this docuseries would be Sharks of the Amazon.
Well, if the sequel doesn't come through, you could always go back and play some of your home movies and call it the prequel like they do in Hollywood.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
It's fun. It's not bad. Hey, see, we're on to something here. Well, hey, on Wild and Woolly Wednesdays with Danny Ray on the Military Brotherhood Radio, I play all kinds of music. What's your favorite types of music?
Really, I like classic. I like classic rock and roll. So I like classic rock and roll, a little bit of 80s hair band heavy metal stuff. But I also like everything from praise music to gospel praise music to jazz to I listen to a little bit of everything. But daily, mostly classic rock. Classic rock and some of that older music from the 80s there is kind of my favorite.
Awesome. Do you have any requests you want to hear? I'll play it for you, man.
Oh, how about Sweet Home Alabama?
All right. You got it, baby. Not a problem.
Okay.
Well, hey, I'd like to thank you so much for giving me an interview, man. You have gone above and beyond the call of duty. I thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Danny. God bless. We'll talk to you soon now.
Hey, thank you, buddy. Bye-bye.